May I please invite Mr. James Halberstadt, Managing Director of Europe at CITIC Telecom CPC, to give us a welcome remarks. James, please.
Good morning. So, as Natalie said, thank you. I'm James Halberstadt. I am the Managing Director for CITIC Telecom CPC in Europe. And hopefully over the next 10 minutes, I will bring you some global insight into digital transformation in enterprises, into the digital transformation and innovation that we're seeing around the world, and hopefully particularly as well in Europe and in Asia, that's empowering businesses around the world. CITIC Telecom CPC is not just in Asia. We have a strong infrastructure of network and smart cloud centers across Europe, Eastern Europe, Western Europe. And if anybody here today would like a little bit more insight into the European market, or in terms of you have some specific requirements in Europe, then I will be around for the entire day and would love to talk to you about that in the breaks that we have coming up. So, Peter Drucker, who was an Austrian-born management consultant, and he was right. We all can work harder, we all can work faster, but eventually we're going to get tired. And Peter Drucker, a lot of his management consultant practices, best practices are used today to look at how we can improve our business functions. But he's right. We need to start thinking out of the box. We need to start thinking differently for all of the way that our businesses operate. Henry Ford got it right. He could have concentrated, and we all could have concentrated on making horses run faster. But eventually you run out of steam. And we can all do this with our businesses. We can think about making more boxes, making more of what we do, working our employees harder. But eventually, you need to change your way of thinking. You need to invent the motor car. If we'd asked at the time, to the people and our customers even, what do we need? They'd have said, I want something faster, I want a faster horse. They'd never have invented the motor car. Now, what happens if we don't innovate? Do you remember these guys? I read the other day, there's one left in the entire world. It's in Bend, Oregon, in the United States of America. And I think it's going to become probably a little bit of a museum, right? We'll take our kids there and say, do you remember when we used to rent movies? There's one left. They worked hard. I bet their employees said, you know, we're working hard. But what happened? Well, this happened, didn't it? Somebody thought a little bit differently. They thought outside the box, and they used the technology that's now available to us to innovate. Now, a little bit scary, actually, because if you look back 20 years, you could see your competition coming, right? They had to build things, factories. They had to build logistics, shops. So you had time to adjust your own businesses to keep that competitive advantage. But actually today, your competition can turn up behind you very, very quickly. If they use the technology and the tools, they can mimic your business model without perhaps some of the legacy infrastructure logistics that you have, because they will innovate like Amazon did, like Netflix did, like Apple have done. And that is why we all need to start thinking that way too. That's why we need to think that way for our businesses. And we're here to help, because I want all of the IT teams and IT departments and IT directors, CIOs, to be in the boardroom talking to their CEOs, the board, about how you can use technology to innovate within your businesses, how you can reinvent the way you're servicing your customers. And that's where CITIC Telecom CPC and other managed, trusted partners come in to help. Because I know that today a lot of you are always concerned and always busy working harder to keep the lights on. I've got this server to rack and stack. I've got a server down. I've got a customer that's upset because the service isn't running. I've got to go and install a new server or fix a hard disk. I don't want you guys to be thinking about that. We have those services. That is our key core business, to provide you that platform, to provide you the cloud services, to provide you the managed networking services. Whatever your businesses are out there today, that's not your core business. I want you thinking about how you will use the technology to innovate your businesses for the future. I want you to be looking at the strategy, how you can use that technology and enable your business to transform the way you deliver services to your customers. We'll look after the lights, keeping the lights on, the power, the servers, the smart cloud, wherever it is in the world, not just in Asia, across in Europe, across in the US, even down in South Africa where we have a smart cloud node as well. And isn't it exciting? Look at all the technology available to us. So I actually think that the technology is overtaking sometimes our own ideas. We have all of these technologies available, they run on our platform, we have customers making use of these types of solutions today. But now is the time, with this wealth of technology around us, to actually start to innovate within our own business models to define that competitive advantage for our business. Take advantage of this digital transformation and transform your businesses. Because if you don't, as we've seen, somebody else will. And these technologies, blockchain, Internet of Things, big data, we're going to hear a little bit more about some of these technologies today. They aren't just things people are talking about. They're being used, and they're being used to great benefit to companies around the world. And what a time to be in our industry. These technologies are actually coming to be reality, and they are powerful and are really going to change the way our businesses operate and do business around the world in the future. As I said, we're opening up a global marketplace. If you want to expand your business models abroad, CITIC Telecom CPC already has smart cloud nodes across the world. If you have a service that you deliver to your customers in Hong Kong today on a cloud service, maybe it's in China today as well, if you want to do the same and deliver that in America or in Europe, we can just pretty much copy it across. We have the same setup in Europe, we have the cloud centers in Europe, you can open that shop front if you like, you don't need to build bricks, mortar, don't need to build a shop. You can go to market very easily and very quickly today on that global infrastructure. And you now have a global customer base that is a lot easier to penetrate and to operate than it perhaps was a number of years ago. So here's an example. Something happened, this happened in Europe a few years ago. It's growing, I know, these smart city trends around the world, but I still find the practicalities of this technology fascinating. We're all familiar with this challenge, right? Traffic jams. Wherever I go in the world, I was in Beijing earlier this week, traffic. Hong Kong, traffic. Moscow, terrible traffic. London, just as bad. But what are the solutions? We think about public transportation and all these other solutions, but there are other things that are quite simple in terms of the technology used. So this is actually in Nice, in the south of France, and they have put these nails in the ground. They're like little nails, they're sensors. They've got a little Internet of Things, data transfer, SIM card in them. And if you think about the data transfer, all it needs to say is, there's a car here, or there isn't. It's a 1, or it's a 0. How simple is that in terms of technology? And it's on or it's off. And this has allowed, obviously, apps on smartphones to find, for users and drivers, parking spaces. I'm driving around the city. Before this technology, people would drive around endlessly looking for a parking space. How frustrating. They were polluting. They were contributing to the traffic jam. Now they punch into their smartphone, they want a parking space, and the application will use these sensors to tell them where the closest space that is available is, and in they go. Trash cans, dustbins, depending on where you're from. Same thing, right? Why are we sending lorries around emptying bins when they're not full? This is happening across France, it's happening in America as well, where these bins will actually tell the city, the council, when they're full. It can then schedule the most appropriate route for the truck to take. It doesn't waste time driving around needlessly. It saves time, it saves cost, it saves pollution, and it's really providing value to the council, to the community as a whole. Nothing worse, again, than being stuck behind the trash, the rubbish lorry. It's emptying all the bins, and the bins were empty in the first place. So this technology is Internet of Things in this particular instance is really powering businesses, cities around the world. And we want you guys to take part. I want your businesses to take part. As I said, I want your IT teams to be not concerned about keeping those lights on anymore, not worried about the server, is the disk full, is the network working. I want you to be in that boardroom advising your businesses on how you can take part in the digital revolution for your companies, how you can drive competitive advantage and get your business much further ahead than the competition. You can use our platforms to drive that through anywhere in the globe. You can innovate your business and make your business truly more competitive, adding value and ultimately growing the businesses that you work for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, James.